A couple of weeks ago, I asked you guys for some hot takes or bold predictions for the 2022 NHL offseason, and since the Stanley Cup Finals have ended and the past couple of videos on the channel have been offseason related, I figured now would be a good time to give you guys some of my hot takes or bold predictions. Now remember, this is just meant to be fun. That's what bold predictions and hot takes are for. I really don't expect all these to come true, or any of them to come true for that matter. If you're somebody who missed out on the video where I reacted to your guys' hot takes, be sure to leave some down below in the comment section of this video. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. My first bold prediction for the offseason: the San Jose Sharks make a blockbuster trade. I'm not gonna throw out any names that I think will be involved in the trade. That's just a little too specific, but I do kind of have a feeling that the Sharks are gonna do something big. My reasoning for that is they're still currently searching for a new general manager after Doug Wilson stepped away a couple of months ago, and due to the fact that the San Jose Sharks are in a really weird spot now, they don't really have a direction. I feel like once they hire this new GM, because I feel like that's going to happen soon, I don't think you want to go through a whole offseason with an interim general manager. So when they hire the GM, whoever that may be, I feel like that general manager is going to do something big to kind of put his imprint on the team and try to give the Sharks some kind of direction, because when you look at that roster right now, it's not a young team by any means. Sure, they have some nice young players in the organization, but all of the highest paid players, with like the exception of Timo Meier and Thomas Hertl, are older than 30. So that's bold prediction number one. I think whenever the Sharks hire their new general manager, I feel like that person is going to do something big, maybe also buy out a guy like Marc-Edouard Vlasic along with making a big trade. Moving on now to the next bold prediction. I feel like this one's a little bit crazy, but the Pittsburgh Penguins will lose both Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang in free agency. Now the reason that I say this one's kind of crazy is because they do still have over $23.2 million in projected cap space at the moment. That's even after signing Brian Rust to that extension. So you would think with that amount of cap space, they would at least be able to bring back one of those guys, but a report did come out the other day that apparently Pittsburgh isn't even talking to Malkin right now on a regular basis in terms of, contract talks. And when it comes to Chris Letang, apparently Letang's camp and the Penguins are 2 years apart in those contract talks. So the closer and closer we get to, I believe July 14th is when free agency opens, things could get kind of dicey, so let's get crazy here. Let's see both Malkin and Letang in new uniforms come next season. I'm all for that. I love player movement, but I won't lie, it definitely would look a little weird. Moving on now to bold prediction number 3, the New Jersey Devils do in fact trade the second overall pick. If you watched yesterday's video, my biggest question for the Devils heading into the offseason was, what are they going to do with that second overall pick? Because there has been some talk and some speculation about them potentially moving the pick, because they already have a plethora of young talent. They've had so many lottery picks over the past, 10 years, and it's time to start winning if you're the New Jersey Devils. They went out and paid so much for Dougie Hamilton last offseason. They also brought in Thomas Tatar. It's clear that the Devils want to start making their way out of the basement of the league, and sure, adding another second overall pick to that young core would not be a bad thing for the future at all. I honestly feel like it would be in their best interest to trade that pick, because it would get them a lot closer to where they want to be sooner rather than later, and you don't have to trade it for like a veteran who's already over 30 years old. What I'm kind of picturing in my head is the New Jersey Devils move that pick and try to package it together with something and get an Alex DeBrincat in Chicago, or a Kevin Fiala from the Minnesota Wild, a guy who's already an established player. Both of those guys I just named had incredible seasons this past year, but they're still young, and they would definitely still fit the timeline of the New Jersey Devils and the rest of the young core that they already have. Now, I'm not all that confident in this actually happening because, well, first, second, third overall picks, we rarely see them actually traded. It's just something that doesn't happen a lot in the NHL, and I think the reason for that is because the team trading the pick is worried that the team they trade the pick to is going to draft, a franchise player or some superstar caliber player. And sure, there is that risk involved when you trade a pick as high as, second overall, but there's also risk involved when you actually draft using that pick. There's no guarantee that second overall pick turns out to be anything special at all. So we'll see what happens, but I would love to see the Devils trade that second overall pick. One, because I think it makes sense for them, and two, it would most likely be a blockbuster trade, and who doesn't love blockbuster trades? Bold prediction number 4, Nazem Kadri, one of the biggest UFAs on the market this offseason, signs with the Ottawa Senators. Now, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, why would Nazem Kadri leave the Colorado Avalanche after he literally just won the Stanley Cup with the team? Obviously, it's a really good fit there, and while the Colorado Avalanche do have a ton of cap space, they also have a ton of guys that are UFAs, not just Nazem Kadri. Valeri Nichushkin's another really important one, and the guy that I think is probably going to be their number one priority is Darcy Kemper. You don't want to lose your starting goaltender in back-to-back off seasons. Arturi Lehkonen is an RFA, Burakovsky's a UFA, Josh Manson's a UFA. They are going to have a very busy offseason, and if Nazem Kadri gets to July 14th and he still hasn't signed an extension with Colorado, I honestly think he's as good as gone, because at that point, other teams are going to be making offers, making really lucrative offers, and Nazem Kadri knows that that is likely going to be the case. He was on Sportsnet's show today, hosted by Nick Kyprios and Justin Bourne, and he was asked, is Colorado his number one choice in free agency? And he said, how could it not be? But then Nazem Kadri also said, I've shown my worth, and I'm just looking forward to watching this all develop. He knows he's likely getting a huge payday, and I really feel like the Ottawa Senators are a team that could greatly use a guy like Nazem Kadri. Now, does he necessarily fit the timeline of the Ottawa Senators and their young core? No, he's 31 years old, but I guess it's kind of depending on who you ask. I feel like Ottawa would probably say, oh yeah, he fits the timeline. But they really need a 2C right now, a guy that can slot in behind Josh Norris on that second line to really fill out that top six. If they want to get to the next level, if they want to get competitive, they have to start spending money. And now for the fifth and final bold prediction of this video, the Detroit Red Wings sign a UFA for over a $7 million AAV. Now, you might not be thinking this is that bold, but Steve Yzerman is pretty conservative with his cap space, and that's been evident over his first couple off seasons with the team. I think the most he spent on a free agent in terms of AAV was Pius Suter, and that cap hit is just $3.25 million. Now, the reason why I think this offseason is going to be different and he's going to splurge on one of the bigger UFAs is because you look at Detroit's cap space right now, it's over $35.5 million, and the only forward that they really have to give real money to is Filip Zadina, and what's that going to be, like maybe a $2.5 mil AAV or something like that? The Red Wings are going to need a backup goalie, a couple of defensemen, but really Filip Zadina is the only important player, I guess you can say, that needs a contract extension. I'm sure they're going to want to bring Jake Wallman back, but again, that's probably going to be like under a $2 million AAV. The Red Wings are going to have to spend a lot of money in free agency just to get to the cap floor by the start of the upcoming season. So that's kind of the reason why I think this offseason is going to be different for Steve Yzerman, and he's going to go try to swing for a big fish. I'll throw a couple of names out there. Philip Forsberg, Vincent Trocheck is a guy I'd really like as the 2C. Valery Nichushkin maybe, because he's only 27. Now, knowing Steve Yzerman, he's probably not going to go for one of the bigger name UFAs, and he'll probably just sign a couple of the mid-tier ones, but we'll see what happens. As a Red Wings fan, I would like to see him go big, not go overly crazy and sign someone to a stupid contract, but get a player who can really help the team win now. So that is going to wrap up today's video. Those were 5 of my bold predictions for the 2022 NHL offseason. Like I said at the beginning, if you missed out on the video where I reacted to your guys' bold predictions, be sure to leave some down below in the comment section. And while you're down there, if you could, please leave the video a like. That is the best way to show your support. And most importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you all soon.